Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom. The UP is home to a wealth of great places, natural wonders, and unique people. It's also a land steeped in tradition. Traditions like hunting, and in many cases, hunting means going to camp. Going to camp is a common statement this time of year. We'll pay a visit to a camp in the Faithorn area to catch up on some hunting stories.
They don't know what that is, the way we used to hunt, lean against a poplar tree.
Then it's off to Jay's Sports and Powers to talk muzzleloaders. Sit back, put your feet up and the remote down, and stick around for the special edition of 906 Outdoors, UP Camp Stories.
And up here, we just turn back the clock, live life the way we want it to be.
9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. .906 Outdoors is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. Camp means a lot of things to a lot of people, especially at this time of year. It's a great place to hunt. It's a great place to get together with friends and family. And it's a great place to sit and listen to stories. I paid a visit to the Rainier camp in the Faithorn area, where I had the pleasure to sit down with Clippy Renier, who has nearly 90 years of stories to tell.
Move up here in 36, I think it was the 1st of March, colder than hell. We had an old, Willie's night car, probably 1929 or something. And it was my dad and mother and, we had 9 kids. My dad and mother and 7 kids in the car, all the way from Jefferson. We were freezing our ass off. Remember we got the end of our driveway, because there wasn't a county road then. The old guy that owned the place, he was coming down the hill with the lantern. There was nothing in the house, just barely a fire. And I remember I slept with Martin Deakus that night. He was about 6'7", weighed about 200, 300 pounds. If he'd have rolled onto me, I wouldn't be here now. You know? I never forget that. And Joe come up with the furniture, and we had a team of horses. And one of the horses was going to have a colt. And when the train stopped and jerked, she fell down and died anyway. We still got the horseshoes. I remember they cut the horseshoes off of her. Still got them in the basement over at the house. Yeah. My dad bought this rifle from an old neighbor for 8 bushels of corn. And we brought it home, and the boys couldn't hit nothing with it. So one old timer said, "You saw the barrel off a little bit." He said, "That'll help." So Orf sawed about 4 inches off the barrel, and he sawed the magazine off, and he filed the sights back in. It wasn't too good, but we could knock the porcelain off a piss spot at 20 yards or 30 yards. That was good enough, you know. Yeah, he shot this, I think it was about the maybe 3rd day of season in 1944 it was. He was posting right over here, maybe a quarter of a mile. And the buck come running down the big side hill he was sitting on. And he shot it in the neck, and down it went. And another one come and jumped right over top of it, and he shot that one. And he seen it flinch, kind of. And we looked and looked and looked, but we couldn't find it. And about a week after, an old neighbor was making a drive through there, and they found it. It was a great big 12-pointer. That must have been the same twins or something of this one. You know, they were both really big. Yeah. How often does that happen, eh? He had an old 30 Remington pump. Used to jam all the time, but the 3rd shot I'd always jam. We always went over to Chris Berger's camp on maybe the 2nd Saturday of season. He always made the venison stew was the best I ever ate, you know. But the night before we seen him at the Broad Axe, he said, "We got a problem." He said, "I haven't got no meat." Well, my brother Orv said, "That's no problem. We'll make a drive in the morning. We'll get some meat." So about 5 of us, they come over to the farm and let's go make a drive and get some meat. So I took the meat saw. I didn't have a gun. what the hell are you doing with that meat saw? Well, I said, we got to get him some meat. We'll cut a hind quarter off and take it over there if we get one. Sure enough, we drove that little driveway swamp by our road there, and they got a doe, and we hung it up, and I sawed the hind quarter off. And we took it over there. We wasn't going to let a little lack of meat ruin our party, you know. So that's the way that went. So we had a party that night anyway.
906 Outdoors is brought to you by Race Driven, your source for premier power sports products.
One year, I hadn't had a buck for 5 days, I think. So down the old Finlander Road, I had seen a beautiful runway there in bird season. I'm going to go there. So me and my brother Dusty went there. And I sat there. It was a kind of a freezing rain like, and I sat on that stump. And about daylight, I could see this buck coming down the big hill, maybe 200 yards away. And then he got in a hollow, and when he got in the hollow, I slid off the stump, and I'm ready for him, you know, but he never come. You know, it must have been 10 minutes. He never come. And all at once on the corner of my eye, I saw something move, and here I seen his horns above the ferns, and he was right down on his belly, creeping past, trying to get past me, and his knees had come up over the top of his back. So I pulled up to shoot, and he stopped just like that, and I shot, and he took off for the swamp. And I went to put another shell in, and my old rifle was froze shut. I could have emptied my gun, you know. But I seen where he went in the swamp, and I followed him in there, and there was a little grass opening in there, and I had hit him right to the ribs. He was dead. Beautiful 11-pointer, great big 11-pointer. And my brother come over, and we dressed him out, and we were dragging him out, and we heard this old Model A Ford coming down that road where we had walked in on, and we heard the guy get out, and he walked up to us. Oh, he said, you got a nice buck there. I said, yeah. He said, where'd you get that? I said, I was sitting on that stump there. Oh, he said, I've been sitting there for 10 years, he said. He said, and I'd have been here this morning, but I had a little too much red eye last night, he said. So, but he couldn't, and I never went back. That's the last time I ever went there, because I knew that was his stump, you know. Yeah, this old guy at the bar used to, you know, he was probably 70 then. He told me I was maybe 12 at the time. He used to tell us, if they smell you, he said, sometimes they get right down on their belly and they creep past you, you know. But we didn't really believe him because he used to drink a lot, you know. But then when I seen it, I believed him, you know. That was true, you know. We were driving the river drive, they call it. So
hang on, make sure it's done.
right north of the Faithorn Park, there's a big ridge there. It's all full of nice pine and everything. And I was posting on there, and the driver was getting pretty close, and all at once this buck, this nice 8-pointer, I got him mounted at home. He come running to Beat Hill, and the old guys always told me, he said, don't try to follow him, just stick it in front of him and let her go. And that's what I did. And I hit him right in the neck, and he went right over top, you know. His rear end come right over. When he hit the ground, he was dead, you know. Yeah. We were making a drive, and I had dropped the last poster off. It was right at noon, beautiful, nice and warm. And I heard a shot, and I stopped. It was right over the hill from me. Pretty soon here comes this big, that was 11-pointer too, but I didn't know it at the time. This doe, and followed by this big buck. Must have come 50 feet from me. I shot, down it goes. Pretty soon this guy comes walking over the hill. He said, I was sleeping against that stump, he said, and I could see something. I felt like something was looking at me, he says. So I woke up, and there was that buck and doe looking at me, he says. And I went up to shoot, and he went over that hill toward you, he said. So I shot that one too. Yeah. Then another time, we had done our chores, and my dad said, you guys go across, we always call it the old dry lake. And so me and Arv walked down there. It was down the state road. We walked in on that ridge, and there was a guy sitting against a hemlock tree. And we just waved at him when we went by, and maybe we went a couple hundred yards, and I stopped, and then Orv went a couple hundred yards further. I sat there about 10 minutes, and I heard Orv shoot. And here comes this nice, I think it was a 9-pounder, I'm not positive. Coming to beat hell, and I shot, down it goes. We weren't in there 10 minutes. We went dragging it by that old guy. Son of a bitch, he said, I've been sitting here since daylight, he said. I ain't seen a thing. You guys go in there in 10 minutes and you come dragging this buck out. Gloria had supper already, and the kids, they should have been home half an hour before that. And finally they come home, and she said, how come you're so late? I just said, Wimpy seen a buck run in that swamp, and we had to make a drive for her. But that's the last time she went to the school board meeting the next night or whenever. And that was the end of carrying a gun on the school bus.
He was a school bus driver.
Yeah, he was Wimpy's on as a school bus driver, yeah. Well, he'd see a deer in the field, and he'd put the gun out of the school bus window, and you know how Sally was. She'd always try to scare the deer away, and Wimpy get mad at her from scaring you. Imagine if you'd carry a gun on the bus nowadays. Oh.
.906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Christ, your Northwoods neighborhood store.
In 41, I was 14, but I was probably hunting a couple of years before that, making drives and stuff, yeah. First 2 years, I didn't get a buck. In the next 32 years, I got a buck every year. I remember that. Yeah. And then I missed a year. By that time, I wasn't hunting with this anymore. So I've been pretty lucky, But in the old days, we weren't fussy. We shot spike horns and everything, I think there's probably more deer now, but the ratio was better then. There was, you'd see one buck to probably every 5 does. Now, I bet we got 20 does every buck, at least.
Well,
Don't you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean bucks that you can see with a rack. There ain't no. Sometimes there'd be 25, 30 deer out in our field and ain't a damn horn in there, So they're way out of balance.
Wow.
Thanksgiving Day, I went out there, and it was 20 below zero that morning. And I forget what you were doing anyway, but pretty soon I seen a doe running around out there, and there's a bunch of ironwood there. I see this buck chasing that doe, and all of a sudden the doe took off and come right by that blind. Pretty soon here he comes, right by the blind. And I shot twice, and down he goes. I had hit him twice right through the heart. Then I seen Tom's, he had what the heck, do you have a Bronco?
Yeah.
He had an old Bronco, and I waved him, come on, I got one. By the time he got there, the whole side of the deer was froze solid with blood. It was so cold, Yeah.
Raise my hands out of there, the blood would just dry on the freeze.
And I shot doe someplace, and we threw it in the trunk of the car, and we stopped at the old Long Branch, and we stayed there a little longer than we should have, And when we come out, the tail of the deer was hanging out of the trunk. You could see the tail was out. If a game warden would have come by, we'd have been done. Yeah. The guy that my dad bought that rifle from, he shot a big bear one time I think it was early September, he said. And his wife's name was Elizabeth, but he always called her Libby, Anyway, he shot that big bear. He said, and they dressed it out. He said, and the whole stomach was full of blueberries. Just solid blueberries, he said. Yeah, he said, he was a German, had a little accent. There wasn't a leaf in them or a piece of grass, he said, or nothing. He said, Libby canned them. Yeah, and he was no boaster, you know. He probably was a tub full in there. She didn't have to. Yeah, Libby canned them. He said there wasn't mashed up or nothing. He said there was just, I suppose the bear just, you know how they do. They just shovel them in and swallow them, I suppose. Probably fed them to the company, huh? He was serious as hell. It's more fun at deer camp than when the other camps come over and we go over there, and more fun than hunting, eh? If you don't shoot a deer, that's not important, you know? Yeah, as long as them guys come over and have a good time. Sometimes they stay a little later than they should. But that's all right.
Sometimes we like to hunt and
Yeah. But that's what it's all about, eh? You know. I don't give a damn if I get a buck or not, as long as I can come out here and talk with the guys and have a good time, you know. And they listen to my old stories. They'll never be, you know, they don't know what that is, you know, the way we used to hunt, lean against a poplar tree. Yeah. Yeah, we had to get up maybe 3:30 in the morning, milk the cows and change our clothes and go out and lean against a poplar tree. I used to go down the state road all the time. And all these guys from Norway would come, I'd be there ahead of them a little. I got lots of bucks down there, just leaning against a tree, you know, on a runway, you know. Pretty near every damn year I'd get one. Very lucky. No, I don't know what the hell it is. It ain't the hunting exactly, it's people getting together, eh, and having a good time, and yeah. Yeah, there's a good crew right around here. You take off down here after supper, and you never make it back till midnight. You stop. Every place there's a light, you stop, and you gotta have a few beers, you know, and you can't get away. Yeah, they're all good guys. Yeah. You know, you like to get a buck, that's for sure, but if you don't get one, what the hell's the difference? You know. Well, I'd sooner like kids. You know, I'd sooner my grandsons get a buck than me. You know, I'm happy when I hear them shoot. Yeah. I come back, I see the doors open in the shed, I know somebody got one. Yeah, we always do great here yeah. I can see good yet, you know, I can still hit them. Yeah. As long as I can take the four-wheeler in there, I'm fine. I'll never stop hunting as long as I'm able, you know. And I love my old 742 with that 3-power scope. You know, nowadays they got scopes that big around, eh? They put the cabbage pile 50 yards away. What the hell do you need that for? You know? They sit there and look at that cabbage pile all day. I like to watch the hardwoods and see them going through there, you know.
Did you finish it?
When you were young, they weren't baiting yet, were they? When you first started hunting? I don't know.
Well, no.
I don't think so.
I've never baited them.
No, you don't have to bait.
When I was a kid,
I've never
I
ever.
was,
Hell no, you're better off without it. Yeah.
I don't even know how old I was.
.906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Orion Hunting Products. It's time for a 906 Outdoors Wild Game Break, brought to you by Orion Hunting Products. Over the last several weeks, we've taken an in-depth look at Orion hunting blinds. Now we'll look at the final step, putting together the wall panels.
Moving the panels from our unload location to the tower, super easy. Each panel, lightweight aluminum, 20 to 40 pounds. Now that all the panels are staged out of packaging, we'll start handing them up to Joel for assembly.
906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Blades Bait and Tackle, your hardwater connection to Little Beatty Knock. Whether you're already a muzzleloader hunter or thinking of becoming one, here's some good info from Jeanette at J Sports and Powers.
This is one of the older ones, one of the original, the old Hawken, Thompson Hawken. Very popular in its day, double trigger, but this is what happens when you use corrosive powder and even some of the new powders. If you don't take care of it at the end of season, it ends up full of rust. Now the new ones, which are really nice now, come a long way. That one is the new one, the new speed breech they call it, where you don't have to have any tools anymore. All you have to do is just unscrew it, and makes it really nice to clean the breech plug out. You can make sure that it's all nice and clean in there. One of the important things though, when you put it back in, make sure you put anti-seize on the threads. Anti-seize is really important. With the older ones, because you couldn't take the breech out, the older ones you had to, go down in and then you had to pull that patch back out. There was no taking it through. With the newer ones now, with being able to take the speed breech out, you're able to push it all the way through and do a good job cleaning it. And that brings me to this, and the reason I love this stuff, it will dissolve the plastic that builds up in your rifling. A lot of this plastic starts melting in your barrel. Once it starts melting in there, there goes your accuracy. So I highly recommend something that will dissolve plastic. This works wonderful.
Feel free to join us on Facebook or visit us at 906outdoors.com. Thanks for watching, and we invite you to join us next week for another adventure right here on 906 Outdoors.
Thank you.